Welcome back to Cycle Wisdom, where we empower women to restore natural cycles to improve health and promote fertility. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Minger, and I am so glad you are listening today. On today's episode, I interview Dr. Dana Gibbs, who is a thyroid and hormone expert and board-certified otolaryngologist and allergist. She has been in private practice since 1999, doing general otolaryngology, and also directed allergy for a large ENT group for 18 years. In 2021, Dr. Gibbs launched Allergy Access MD, a consulting and online education company where she hosts courses for private practice physicians covering the topics of integrative endocrinology and also allergy. In 2023, she opened her own practice, Consultants in Metabolism, focusing on integrative thyroid management and balanced hormone replacement for adults and teens, which is where our work collaborates very nicely. This interview is actually split up into two separate sessions as we had so many amazing things to discuss. I hope you enjoy part one of our special talk with Dr. Dana Gibbs today. Welcome, Dr. Dana Gibbs, to our show. We're so excited to have you here. I want to start off with just asking, how did you transition from being an otolaryngologist, an ear, nose, and throat doctor, to what you're doing today?
So I'm Dr. Dana Gibbs. I am a former otolaryngologist, now an integrative hormone and thyroid practice in the North Texas area. And a lot of how this happened was actually part of my personal story, so which means it's kind of a long story. But the short version is that it turns out I had thyroid problems probably starting in my teens and never was diagnosed, never recognized it for what it was, and didn't figure that out until I was already out of my otolaryngology residency, out into private practice. And I was actually learning about allergy at a conference, and I kind of got bored with the lecture that I was in. So I wandered into the room next door, and the fellow was talking about thyroid, and he listed all these symptoms. And he talked about you're cold and tired, your hands and feet are always cold, your hair's thin on top, your eyebrows fall out on the lateral corners, you're constipated all the time. You sweat at night. You're tired, but you can't sleep because you sweat all night. You know, go to bed cold, wake up hot. And I mean, he listed these symptoms, boom, 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 boom. And I mean, by the end of the presentation, my jaw was just on the floor because everything he was saying was like me. He's talking about me. So I took the recommendation that he gave, and I took it back to my doctor and I said, I know my TSH is normal. I know my labs have been normal. Can I please try this? And she was okay with it. And it was like this miracle for me. I had thought all my life I was just a lazy human being. And all of a sudden I could wake up in the morning without the alarm. I didn't have to hit the snooze 14 times. I did not need a nap in the afternoon. You know, my periods came regular. It's like, oh my gosh, I'd never had a regular period in my life. Just all kinds of stuff happened when I started taking basically natural thyroid supplement is what it was. And so I got really interested in it, and I started recognizing those same symptoms in my ENT patients. You know, they would come in with their, sinus infection 16 times a year, and we'd do their surgery or not do their surgery, and they wouldn't get better. And I'd test them for allergies, and no, it doesn't really look like you have much allergies. But hey, you've got these few thyroid symptoms. Let's try testing them and putting you on this stuff. And they would get better. And it was like, oh, wow, what's going on here? And so I really started digging in. I started going, okay, there's got to be an explanation for why these people need thyroid hormone, but their labs don't seem to show it. And I finally found a particular conference, a particular presenter who explained it in a way that made a lot of sense to me, that was repeatable, detectable with a simple lab test. And I started following this guy, and I went up to him at the end of the conference, how we do at medical conferences, made friends with him, and have been kind of collaborating with him ever since. And so when it came time for me to quit doing ENT, when I'm like, okay, you know what? My neck is kind of sore. It doesn't feel great to do surgery anymore. My vision is starting to poop out. I'd like to work part-time, but being in an ENT office doesn't really allow that. Then I kind of naturally turned to, I would like to do these hormones. And my patients that were on the thyroid had all along been asking you, hey, can you do the rest of my hormones as they would head towards menopause?
Sure.
Hey, can you do the rest of my hormones? And I always had to say no because I'm an ENT doctor. I'm like, no, I can't. That's not what I do. No.
Mhm.
And so when I was done, then that was on my mind. It's like, okay, I'm good at this. I know I'm good at this. But that's where my thoughts turn. And I decided, okay, I can control my time. I can control how much time I spend with a patient. If I go out of network on all the insurances. And so that's what I did.
I love it. And for so many of us, that personal experience is kind of what can trigger you to kind of say, okay, something has to change. And we realize it's not just us, it's our patients are dealing with this too. So why is it that,
exactly.
and you had mentioned this even, that your doctor said, okay, well, hey, your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, that lab test was normal. So your thyroid is fine. Why is it that most doctors only check just that one thyroid test and then say your thyroid is fine. See you later. Have a nice life.
So it's really, that's what we were taught in med school.
Yeah.
That's what we were taught in residency. Even the endocrinologists mostly don't check anything else, but something they do a test. It's called TSH with reflex, which means if the TSH is normal, then it goes on to check what's called the free T4. And free T4 is actually one of the thyroid hormones. It is the storage form of thyroid. And TSH is not even a thyroid hormone. TSH is a pituitary hormone. So it's something your brain makes in response to a really complicated set of signals to tell your thyroid, hey, we need some more. And what it says we need more of is T4. So it's T4 feeds back to slow down TSH, which makes less T4. But a lot of people have a defect in their metabolism where they don't convert T4 to the active form of the hormone that actually stimulates your metabolism and makes you burn energy. It makes you grow new cells and makes you grow new hair and fingernails. Every single cell in your body uses T3, which is made from T4 in your body cells. So the problem for a lot of people is not even in their thyroid gland. The problem is in the production of T3 from T4. So you do have to check T3. Free T3 is what I recommend people check. But you also have to check something called reverse T3. And what reverse T3 is it's also made from T4, and it's made almost identical to T3, but not exactly, because it's like a key that you had made, but they made a mistake and they cut a little piece off in the wrong place. So T3 has iodines on it. It has 3 iodines on it. And it starts from T4. One of the iodines comes off and then it's T3. Well, reverse T3, the enzyme takes the wrong iodine off. And so it looks to your body almost exactly the same. So if you think of it as a key in a lock, when reverse T3 goes into the lock, it fits in the lock just fine. It just won't turn the lock.
Mm-hmm.
It won't activate the cell to do the metabolic things that it needs to do. And so the method that I use, we check the T3, we check the reverse T3, and we look at that ratio, because if you have a lot of keys in the lock that won't turn, then the normal T3 floating around can't do its job. So you can't just check T3, you have to check T4, T3, reverse T3. And then you get an idea of, okay, how is your metabolism doing with regards to all the thyroid? But we're not taught that in medicine.
Right.
We're not taught that in residency.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you'd kind of mentioned already some of the symptoms that you had personally that would indicate, hey, tells me there's something thyroid going on, even if that TSH is normal. So what kind of symptoms do you see in your patients that tell you, hey, this person needs evaluation for thyroid specifically versus, maybe some of the other hormonal things that you see?
Well, that's actually hard because so many of the thyroid symptoms are pretty vague. I mean, fatigue, a bazillion things cause fatigue. It could be anemia. It could be your adrenal glands are messed up. It could be you're just not getting enough sleep. You have sleep apnea, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But usually it's a combination. If you pick several symptoms in a row and you go, okay, you have all 5 of these. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this is probably thyroid. And the one that I talked about, having cold hands and feet, like all the time, that's really, really common with thyroid. Being cold when everybody else is comfortable, really common with thyroid. I mean, I go into a restaurant and it's 110 degrees outside and I bring a jacket because I know I'm going to be freezing. And that's very, very common. I sleep 10 or more hours a night and I still don't feel rested. Now, yes, that could be sleep apnea, but in combination with these other things, a lot of times it definitely turns out to be thyroid. Irregular periods, that's another thing I look for. Mm-hmm. Miscarriages. So a lot of people who have had early term miscarriages, sometimes one after the other, you'll ask them and they'll be like, oh yeah, I've had 3 miscarriages. I'm like, you have thyroid problems. I mean, I laser focus in on thyroid when I hear that story.
So when you do your evaluation, when you talk with clients, you're checking more than just thyroid when you're evaluating them. So what does that look like? Is it a matter of, hey, I just check this broad panel for everybody? Or is it, I focus on these are the symptoms and this is what I'm most suspicious of?
Right. So, I mean, I start with a really detailed history. It's a very focused, holistic. I'm going all the way back to, what kind of childhood trauma have you had? Because I want to know that kind of thing. That plays a role in your adrenal glands, which is something else that I treat. I look at a lot of your history and decide if you've had a history of anemia, then I'm going to check you to make sure you're not anemic. If you've had PCOS, I'm going to check your insulin levels. So, there's a lot of things that I will check in addition to just thyroid.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of our interview with Dr. Dana Gibbs. I hope you learned more about how thyroid can impact so many areas of your life, including your hormones. We look forward to sharing part 2 with you next week, so make sure you tune in. If you're wanting to learn more about your thyroid in regards to your menstrual cycles, go to our website, radiantclinic.com, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me to learn more about our package-based pricing for healthcare. We customize your treatment plan and include options to access a hormone coach, fertility awareness charting experts, a registered dietitian, a fertility acupuncture specialist, a health coach, and of course, all the medical care you need from me as a board-certified physician. We are currently able to see people for in-person appointments in the Cedar Rapids area or can arrange for a telehealth visit if you live in the state of Iowa. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please share this podcast with someone in your life who would benefit from our services. Remember to subscribe to this podcast for more empowering content. I sincerely appreciate your support, and I look forward to sharing more with you on our next episode of Cycle Wisdom.